It being 6:30 p.m. on April 16th, I call this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with Governor Healy's open meeting provision extension, which was signed on March 28th, 2025, which extends access to certain remote and hybrid meetings until June 30th, 2027. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during a public input portion of a hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. Please note that all comments made are public record and should be made in a way that is respectful of others. Should personal or inflammatory remarks be made, the host reserves the right to mute the speaker. A copy of this recording will be posted on the City of Brockton webpage. All votes will be done via roll call vote to ensure count accuracy. In order to establish quorum, I ask that each commissioner state your first and last name for the record.
Peggy Curtis.
Hi, Peggy.
Lily Green.
Teresa Mapp.
Justin Talbot.
And Joyce Boris. So we do have quorum. Thank you. So for continuances this evening, the following agenda items have been continued at the request of the applicants to the May 21st meeting. Number 6, 940 Belmont Street, number 8, 30 Intervale Street, number 12, 68 12th Avenue, and number 15, 159 Torrey Street. The next list of agenda items are actually in process. I will read those item numbers and their address. If anyone is present to speak to the commission about any of those items, if you could raise your hand so that you will be recognized, and we will be sure to address that item. If no one is present, then the commission will continue those to the next meeting. And so we have number 5, 82 Ames Street.
Oh, Madam Chair, I thought we would do the ones that haven't officially requested a continuance, like when we get to.
Oh, when we get to that.
5.
Oh, okay. Oh,
during the
okay.
meeting.
And then just do one big.
Yeah, we'll just do it
Yeah.
right, and that way we can. We don't want to take things out of order. If someone is here to speak, and I do see someone to speak to a couple of these. So
Okay, that's fine.
we
Thank
don't
you.
take them out of order.
Sorry about that. I guess I misunderstood. Thank you very much. Okay. So the first commission matter would be meeting minutes from March 19th. Commissioners, have you had a chance to look at the meeting minutes? Okay, I entertain a motion then to accept the minutes as read.
I make a motion to accept March meeting minutes as read.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, I.
Matt, I.
Aye.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you. The next commission matter is 34 Herman Street. The remediation outline. Is someone here from DPW?
I don't see anyone in the attendees list from DPW. Perhaps we can just table this for now and maybe circle back if someone attends a little bit later in the meeting.
Okay, that sounds fine. Thank you. We'll table that until someone else shows up. If not, we'll just continue next meeting. So the first new filing then is an RDA, a request for determination of applicability at Westgate Drive.
Yeah, I'm promoting someone from VHB, the representative, to speak to the commission about this project.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, sorry, just getting off mute. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome, great. If it's okay, I'll share my screen and just do a quick presentation of the project.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yes, yeah, Callan Kontowitz from VHB, Vanessa Hangen Breslin, and this is on behalf of Massachusetts Electric Company.
Okay.
So let me share my screen. So it's just going to be a kind of the plan page we provided to the commission in our RDA filing. The proposed project is at the Westgate Mall. It's to facilitate electric charging station. just at a parking lot area at the Westgate Mall. And you can see on the map here, it's a little challenging to see, but there is what is the Lovett Brook that runs kind of from west to east along the project site. And we have associated bank that was delineated, and then the 25-foot riverfront area and local 25-foot no touch zone, and then also the 50-foot buffer zone, and then 100-foot buffer zone to the resource area. And the proposed work is one structure replacement. You see number 46 right there to replace that structure for the overhead distribution line. And then there's two new utility pole installations that are proposed, the 4650 and then the 4651. And those are located within the 100-foot buffer zone. And then 4650 is also located within the FEMA floodplain or bordering land subject to flooding. And so because these are strictly small utility poles that are going in, we do classify these impacts as de minimis and don't believe they'll have any substantial impact on buffer zone or floodplain function. In total, each pole is estimated to have a 1.8 square foot impact, which again, we are kind of labeling as de minimis. It's your typical utility pole that you see on the side of the street. And we are proposing mitigation measures. There's best management practices that Massachusetts Electric deploys on all their projects. That includes an erosion and sedimentation control program. So we are proposing erosion controls be used so that no sediment or materials flow downhill into wetland resource areas or the Lovett Brook. So that's pretty much it for me. Happy to answer any questions the commission may have, and hope to approve a negative request for determination. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koskets. Kyle, did you have anything that you'd like to add?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that summary. I think that really about covers it. You know, so I've kind of outlined everything in my agent report. As stated, you know, the real concerns here that we're working with not the concerns, but the resource areas are really, we're looking at buffer zone and bordering land subject to flooding. There are, you know, carve-outs within the Wetlands Protection Act that allow, you know, in-kind replacement of public utilities, and then also certain minor exemptions when you're doing work within the buffer zone. And this project applies to both of those. So like the one pole that we're replacing in kind with a new pole, and then the new additional poles that are within the buffer zone, those all would be exempt for one reason or another under the act. That leaves the remaining point to consider would be impacts to bordering land subject to flooding. And I agree with the applicant that the installation of the one pole that's going to be a new pole located within bordering land subject to flooding is going to have a de minimis impact on the flood storage capacity of the area. So I'm recommending that the commission can issue a -5 determination, stating that the area described in the request is subject to jurisdiction under the act, but is exempt for two different reasons. So I'll include that in the determination. And then finally, also a -3 determination, stating that the work described in the request is within the buffer zone, but will not alter the area subject to jurisdiction, subject to the following conditions. So I guess I've got one question. In the report given to the commission for the filing, it says that the poles are going to be basically a hole will be dug with an auger about 6 feet deep, and that's where the poles will be set. So the one condition that I've recommended in my report would be requiring that the excess spoil from the auger as it digs that material up is removed from the site and not kept within the bordering land subject to flooding or the buffer zone. Is that kind of the standard practice, Keelan, or is that something that normally you would just kind of pilot next to the pole?
That's standard practice if there's excess soil to be transported offsite and disposed of accordingly. Usually we try to backfill and keep everything on site, but understanding, as you mentioned, we are within floodplain and we certainly don't want to impact the floodplain in that area. So I can certainly highlight both those poles just to make sure that, you know, we don't disrupt any existing grades there, and it's just the utility pole itself that's going in.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And that's all I've got, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Comments? No? Is there anyone from the public that wants to speak to this particular agenda item?
I don't see any hands raised in the attendees, Madam Chair.
So if we're ready to move forward then, I believe we have to close first, correct?
Yes, this is a public hearing.
Yeah, okay. Then I entertain a motion to close, please.
I make a motion to close Westgate Drive utility pole installation.
Second that motion?
Motion's been made and seconded to close the hearing. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Matt, I.
Aye.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. So I entertain a motion now then to issue a determination, please.
I make a motion to issue a -5 determination with the conditions outlined by Kyle.
Also a -3, so we're going to issue two
Two
determinations.
different ones.
Do
Should
we
we do
have to
that?
file them separately?
No, you can do it on the same form. So it'll just be part of one larger determination, but we are voting to issue a -5 and a -3.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to issue a -5 determination and a -3 determination as outlined by Kyle.
I second that motion?
Motion's been made and seconded to issue a -5 and a -3 determination for the Westgate Drive pole installation. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Matt, I.
Howard, aye.
And Boris, aye. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Conswitz.
You
Thank
all
you.
appreciate it.
Have a lovely evening.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a certificate of compliance for 360 Pearl Street.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm not sure that anyone is in the attendees to speak to this, but I can review the project for the commission. I did speak to the engineer about this evening, and I did counsel him that we probably wouldn't get to his filing until around 7, so he might just be joining the meeting a little bit later tonight too. So if you want to, we can maybe skip this, table this item for now and wait until after 7 to see if the engineer will be on.
That's fine,
Okay.
as long as you remind me that.
Yeah, we'll circle back to this.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, so we need to get that and Harmon Street as well. Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda then would be 82 Ames Street, a notice of intent. Is there anyone present to speak to this item on the agenda?
I don't see anyone in the attendees, Madam Chair. This is the time that if you wanted to batch all the other items, kind of 5 through 15 are what we are expecting no discussion on tonight. We had some continuance requests for a few of those.
Right.
If you're wanting to batch the rest of them and just kind of do one vote to continue all of them, I think we could
Did
do
you
that.
say that you saw some people in the audience that, or participants that might be here to address some of those that were?
I
not-
did. Someone was in the attendees list for 0 Lawton Avenue. They are no longer in the attendees list.
Well,
So
do you mind if I just read the list out quickly as
Yeah,
with
please
the,
do.
and then if anyone is here, they can raise their hand, and if not, then we can continue that.
yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great.
Fine. So that is 82 Ames Street. The next item is number 7, 549 Copeland Street. If anyone is here to speak to that, please raise your hand. 0 Lawton Avenue. Again, if anyone is here to speak to that. Number 10, it's a notice of intent at 136 Perkins Avenue. Number 11 will be an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 0 Hammond Street. Number 14, 196 Manley Street. And number 15, an amended order of conditions for 159 Torrey Street. Is there anyone here at all that wants to speak to any of those?
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay, so if not, then I would request a motion to continue those to the next meeting, please. Those that we just listed.
I make a motion to continue items 5 through 15 to the May 21st meeting.
I second that motion?
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Nap I.
Mr. Talbot, I think your voice is down.
I'm sorry, Talbot, I.
And Morris, aye. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. So, fast forward to item 16.
Yes, we have a representative here from Bowler Engineering to review the project, the commission.
Okay, thank you.
If I may just give a little background, this RDA was initially filed in December or January with the commission, and then the applicant requested to have to continue the project without actually having a discussion with the commission. This is the first time that we actually are going to be reviewing this project. They wanted to do some plan revisions, so Liam will be able to speak to the commission about what's exactly changed. But my agent report that I issued initially for the first plan set is more or less still accurate, and my recommendations are the same. So I did not write a new report. We're just going to kind of operate under that old report. But through the chair, Liam is ready to go.
Hi, Mr. Feeney, how are you?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Liam Feeney. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, we are.
Great. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, I will share my screen. And thank you, Kyle, for the introduction. Great. So I'm Liam Feeney. I'm a civil engineer with Bowler, representing the applicant Walmart, which is proposing a parking lot maintenance project here at their store at 700 Oak Street. And so the applicant is requesting a determination of applicability for a pavement repair project. And this project will include pavement repair and curb replacement within the 25-foot, 50-foot, and 100-foot buffers that are on site. A small portion of this work does fall within the 25-foot no-touch buffer zone. However, all of the proposed work does fall within existing paved or developed areas. So we did originally submit an RDA at the end of last year in December. However, throughout the springtime, we did some additional geotechnical investigation with some pavement cores, and our original RDA was planning to mill and overlay the entire site, but after the additional geotechnical investigation, the pavement that is out there was found to be in poorer condition than we originally anticipated. So we came back and talked to Kyle and decided that we wanted to do some plan revisions. And our plan here on our paving plan is showing what is called full depth replacement. So our plan is largely showing removing the top two bituminous layers of asphalt that are out there and maintaining that gravel subbase that's under the pavement that you're seeing on site. And then there are some areas of full depth replacement that will be happening within the buffer zone that are on site. And then what you're seeing in red on site, there is what's called extruded curb. So it's kind of concrete curb that's sitting on top of the asphalt, and that doesn't do well in the winter with snow and plows. So we're proposing to replace that with precast concrete curb. So our plan within the buffer zone here is some areas of full depth replacement and full depth reconstruction, and then you're also seeing areas of curb replacement. So that's kind of what's changed since our original submission and what we're presenting to the commission right now. So that being said, we have a pretty detailed paving plan for areas, even beyond what's on the resource areas here that are located off of the access drive. And then we've also included a pretty detailed soil erosion and sediment control plan that will detail inlet protection throughout the site. So there are a series of catch basins that are on the site. So this includes inlet protection throughout that to protect sediment from heading downstream. And then we are proposing silt fence at the back of the curb, upgrading it of the wetlands here. So that's to be installed prior to this work. And we are showing a couple of phases as well on this plan so that this entire site isn't ripped up in one go. The contractor would phase this work so that there's not a large swaths of disturbance on the site at one time. So we have a detailed phasing plan as a part of this as well. So that being said, this work would require a SWIP and ENOI with the EPA, just because the areas of full depth reconstruction and curb replacement are considered land disturbance. So we would file a SWIP and the contractor would have a SWIP on site. So that's the majority of the work that's being done. And there are just some areas that we are in front of the commission tonight for within the 25, 50, and 100-foot buffer zones. But all of this work is essentially replacing what's out there today and, looking to receive a negative determination for the work. And open to any questions. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you. It sounds as though it'll be a digger deep than your original plan, huh?
Yes, so originally we
aggressive.
were proposing mill and overlay, but it is in poor
Yeah.
condition. But, it's all good. Some areas will be excavating down to the subgrade and replacing that gravel subbase.
With that amount of excavation and heavy equipment and everything, is there any particular reason why you didn't just apply for an NOI?
Just because all the work is happening within the limits of developed area right now and the limits of pavement right now, so there are no changes to drainage patterns, and there's no change to impervious area on this site. So it really is just a pavement replacement job and replacing the curb and essentially replacing existing conditions and improving what's out there today.
Mhm. Okay. Kyle?
Commissioner Curtis has her hand raised. I don't know if you want to.
Oh, I'm sorry, who did?
Could Liam explain all the little figures, the dashes and the crisscrossing? I guess I
Yes,
don't understand what they mean.
On this paving plan here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So the first one is what we call full depth reconstruction. So where you see this kind of brick hatch here and the dotted hatch, we've kind of identified two areas where you introduce standard depth or standard duty pavement. That's where you generally have like passenger cars. So we're introducing standard duty pavement here. And then this area here is where you have heavy duty pavement. That's where you typically see truck traffic. The loading operations are at the rear of the store. So there's kind of two paving areas that we're introducing between standard duty and heavy duty. And then in between that, the standard duty and heavy duty, there will be the full depth either replacement or full depth reconstruction. So I guess the areas where you will see that excavation down to removing the gravel subbase will be this brick hatch here and this dotted hatch here. So it's not huge areas. It's just this brick hatch here, and that there is some area here. There, if you go out on site, there are some potholes in that area. So it's better to remove the gravel subbase because that's where the failure occurs, and you want to remove that and replace it. And then the dotted hatches here is where they'll be removing the gravel subbase. But everything else, this square hatch and this dashed hatch, is just removing the top two layers, that top course and binder course. It's removing just the top 4 inches, and then that gravel subbase remains, which is the majority of the site that we're proposing.
Approximately how long would the whole process take?
Walmart typically likes to have these projects done within 3 months. It's really just a paving and curb replacement job. It's not a huge undertaking. So if we get this out to bid, they might not be able to get a contractor to bid on this work. A lot of contractors have, their bids already done for the summer, so it might not go until the fall or next spring. But we usually schedule these for around 3 to 4 months maximum.
Will there be any displacement of foliage or anything growing in that area?
No, there are some landscape islands within the site today, but we are maintaining the landscape islands and they're mulch. So we do have a plan to replace the mulch.
I'm sorry, I meant towards the 25-foot buffer zone.
Mhm.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
No, so there won't. There is some trees back here, but the limit of work is essentially at that back of curb that's out there today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Peg. Kyle?
Yeah, no, I just kind of to address your question, Madam Chair, about why an RDA versus a notice of intent. It's always kind of a gray area between what when a filing is appropriate for what type of filing. So, in conversations with Bowler, we kind of think that, as Liam has mentioned, there's going to be no disturbance beyond the existing, limit of disturbance, the existing parking area. And then beyond that, there are no changes to the stormwater or to the grading. And that would be the other thing that would be triggered by notice of intent filing is a review of the stormwater. But because no change to that is proposed, I think we can get by issuing an RDA. So that's my recommendation. One of the things from my initial report was to have them install erosion controls at the limit of work, at least within the 100-foot buffer zone. That wasn't on the initial plan set. They've included the silt sock or the silt fence on this plan set. The commission might want to consider requiring a silt sock be installed along the area that's within buffer zone, just as an extra protection. But I think that as is, there shouldn't be any negative impact on the wetland, which is what the determination would be
Right.
saying, and that's why we would issue the determination rather than a notice of intent. The other recommended condition, if the commission chooses to issue a negative determination, would be that we're just not confirming the wetland line down there at the bottom of the plan.
Okay, and I assume everything that's removed will be taken off site right away? All of the asphalt and old gravel and things?
Correct. Yeah, that will be taken off site.
Commissioners?
And
any
if there is any stockpiling of materials, it will be outside of the buffer zone. We do have some stockpile areas shown, but they are outside of the buffer zones.
By the way,
there
what
were-
is an off-site run-on? I'm sorry, what's an off-site run-on? I see
That's
those.
just,
I
yeah,
just-
that's just for the contractor to be aware that, this area here is upslope or up gradient, so that, they need to be aware of any runoff occurring outside of the site during construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any markers there to mark the buffer zone or the wetlands?
There is not, but as a part of Walmart's SWIP installation or implementation, they would stake out the limit of disturbance. So this LOD line, they would go out and stake this LOD line so that they know not to go beyond this LOD as a part of their work.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners, any other questions? Is Sharifa still on the call?
I am. I have
Oh,
no
okay.
questions.
Sorry, I didn't see you. Okay, please go ahead. Oh, you have no questions. Okay, thank you.
No, thanks.
Is there anyone from the public that wants to speak to this RDA?
I don't see anyone with their hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I entertain a motion to close then?
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
No, it's quite,
I drive by there frequently and I also shop there too. Are there any will there be any traffic flow directions that may not be part of our jurisdiction, but I'm just curious because it seems like a free-for-all sometimes coming out of that parking lot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know it is difficult because the way this property line is formed, there is only one way in and one way out of this property. And it is a signalized intersection. So is your concern regarding the signalized intersection or just kind of the way the drive aisles are?
The way the
Aligned.
aisles are aligned, there's people crossing over the marked aisles and they're going diagonal across the parking lot, coming and going. So, I was just
Right.
curious. If there
Yeah.
were
So, I mean, I've been out there. I observed that too. And I know the pavement's in really poor condition and a lot of the pavement markings are really starting to fade. So it's really hard to tell where that you're supposed to drive. But as a larger part of this project is basically restriping in kind with a lot of additional signage. So you will actually see here, we are introducing a lot of stop signs with additional pavement markings that will introduce a lot more wayfinding and kind of, I hope, more order to the site.
I agree. The one is in Abington, there's more structures there. So it doesn't give people the, it leaves us room for people just to like cut through and cut you off and hopefully not cause an accident.
Right, yeah, I
Okay,
didn't
like
include
that.
our, full signage plan, or actually, I have a signage plan here. So we are introducing stop signs, stop bars, and markings throughout the site with additional signs throughout. So there should be, and essentially, when you repave it too and you put new markings down, it should be a little bit more clear. So hopefully that answers your question.
Mm. I was just curious if there are going to be any barriers along those, like in 18, 15, 14, the parking lot area, so that the flow of traffic goes straight down towards the I and the H sections, and then they will be directed to stop and then take a turn left or right.
Right, yeah, so there is, a property boundary here, and Walmart does have an easement to use this
Mm-hmm.
area here, so we can't really introduce any, I would say,
Okay. Now I
traffic.
understand.
Yeah, but we are going to be, there will be additional signage and pavement markings as a part of that, which will definitely mitigate the issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a motion to close then?
Commissioner Talbot has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Liam, I have just a quick couple of questions. Within the 25-foot buffer zone, where you guys, how many square feet of the asphalt's gonna get ripped up and then resurfaced?
I would say I can do that quick takeoff right now. The scale is 50 feet. This is 25-foot buffer, and then this red line is the curb. Says about 60 square feet, 62 square feet.
When that's happening, will there be a vac truck on site in case anything happens and goes in the 25-foot wetland area? Will there be a vac truck on site or no?
We can absolutely make sure that's part of the construction.
I'm just thinking, if something during remediation, right, if something went bad, they'd back it up anyway.
Right,
Not that
yeah, but
anything's gonna go wrong, but.
Right, there will be a silt fence between that area as well to capture any, sediment or material or debris heading down gradient. So that will definitely help as well. That will be staked
Right,
into the
and so-
ground.
All right, thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Liam.
Thank you.
Now are we ready to close? I entertain a motion to close, please.
I'll make a motion to close. Is it 700 Oak Street?
Mhm.
Okay. And make a motion to close 700 Oak Street.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the RDA for 700 Oak Street, the hearing for that. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Nat, I.
I didn't hear Justin. Yeah. Oh, there's something wrong with your volume, but I saw your mouth move.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, now I get it. Thank you. And Boris, aye. That motion passes. A motion now then to issue a negative, a determination, please.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I just have a comment. Is the commission comfortable with just the installation of the silt fence as an erosion control barrier, or would you like a compost silt sock, which is generally what we require to be
I would
installed
like a
in
silt
addition?
sock. Mhm.
Okay.
Silk sock as well, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So you'll add that as a
Yeah, so the -3, which is the -3 determination, allows the commission to add kind of special
Conditions, right.
conditions. So we will include the requirement of an additional layer of erosion controls comprised of a 12-inch compost filled silt sock within the area of the 100-foot buffer zone.
So that specifies what kind of erosion control you'd like.
Yeah, in addition to the silt fence.
Yep, Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
So I'll make a -3 determination with silk sock addition added to that 700 Oak Street.
The other condition that I had recommended was that we would not be approving the wetland delineation as part of this RDA.
Okay, so I'll make a -3 determination with the Kyle, additional comments from Kyle, along with the silt sock.
okay.
I second that motion.
The motion's been made and seconded to issue a -3 determination with the conditions issued by Kyle in his agent report, as well as the addition of silt socks as erosion controls. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Snap, aye.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all for
Mr.
your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we do have someone in the attendees list now for number 4, the certificate of compliance request for 360 Pearl Street.
Okay, and DPW has not, right?
I still don't see anyone from DPW, but we can ask if there's anyone from DPW in the chat. They can raise their hand. I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So now we're circling back to number 4 as a new filing, certificate of compliance for the property at 360 Pearl Street.
That is correct. The applicant, James Victorine, is in the attendees list. I'm not sure if James is prepared to speak to the commission about the request. I've been speaking to the engineer on the project. You all are familiar with the Azu, but I don't see him in the chat here today. I can review the plans and kind of go over my agent report, or we can allow James to speak first. It's up to you.
Yeah, why don't, unless James has questions about something that Kyle has said. Otherwise, why don't we usually hear from the applicant first, no?
Yeah. So I promoted James. Again, I'm not sure if he's wanting just to kind of witness the meeting tonight, or if he's wanting to speak, but I have promoted him to a panelist.
I don't see him as a panelist on our screen.
I will attempt to promote him again here. So. All right, I think he's been promoted now.
Hello? I'm sorry, what was his last name, Kyle? Can't hear you now.
James Victorine is the
Victorine, thank
applicant.
you. Victorine, thank you. I didn't see it on the list here.
Mhm.
Mr. Victorine? Hello?
Again, I'm not sure that he's even wanting to speak to the commission.
Fine.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, if you'd like, oh, looks like he's unmuted himself now.
okay.
Mr. Victorine, are you there? Hello, hello?
Yes, hello? Can
Hi.
you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. This is all new to me, so I'm sorry about that. Yes, I assumed Azu was going to be available to speak on this. But if you have any questions, you want to direct towards me, I'm available. But I could try to contact Azu and see if he's available. I assumed he was going to be here again. So,
Mr. Victorine, do you want to try to get in touch with him?
yes, that'd be a good idea if I
Okay, if you
could.
want to do
yeah.
that quickly, because we'll wait until, well, Kyle, is it okay to wait until he's attempted to get in touch with Azu? So-
Yeah, I mean, we can move on to the
Yeah, why-
violation discussions
Yeah,
now if you
why don't
want.
we do that? We can do the next, yeah, why don't we do that? And then, and we can circle back to you, Mr. Victorine, in about 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So the violation discussion, the first one that we have is 0 West Chestnut Street.
Yeah, this is just an update to the commission based on our conversation with the engineer for the project, Frank Gallagher, that we had last month at last month's meeting. Frank was going to submit an updated as-built that included the drainage pipe to the commission. I've not received that as-built. I've not reached out to Frank about that in the meantime. I just thought he'd send that over. So I guess following the meeting tonight, I'll reach back out to him and try to get that updated as-built. We were just kind of waiting for that as-built just to confirm. I don't think that pipe is connected to anything currently, but having a signed and stamped plan that shows that it's not connected will kind of really put the like legal weight behind or at least Mr. Gallagher's license to practice engineering on the line if that were to not be the case. And then obviously we can check that out as well, the as-built, but we haven't received that yet. So at this point, I'm going to leave this on the agenda until we have this completely resolved. But I will reach back out to Mr. Gallagher following the meeting and request that as-built.
Okay. We'll continue on then to 0 Clarendon.
Sure.
Oh, I see Azu is here now. Do you want to get?
Well, before we move back, Madam Chair, I know that I did see some people in the attendees list that
For
would
0
like to speak
West Chestnut.
about
Yeah.
the 0 West Chestnut.
Yes, let's finish that. That's fine. Thank you. I didn't even think about that. Yes. Any attendees who would like to speak to 0 West Chestnut Street? If you would raise your hand, please.
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
No. Okay. Oh, it goes Pat.
Yep. I will promote Pat.
Okay, I think I got it. Am I unmuted now?
You are unmuted, Pat.
Okay, I just a quick follow-up through the chair, if I could, Kyle. What will be the next step? Should we be looking to come back again next month to hear how this turns out? It's not nothing will happen in between. Is that correct officially until you meet again?
Yeah, that is correct. So, we requested the narrative and the as-built from the developer, the engineer over there, and we just haven't received that yet. So at this point, there's no like formal movement on any enforcement other than just trying to get information. So hypothetically, if we never receive the information, we could issue like an enforcement order requiring that be submitted to the commission. I don't know that we're there yet, but that could be an alternative. But I think at this point, yeah, we would just reach out to the engineer and try to get that revised set of the as-built.
And just one other question, if I could quickly. There is no, if we spoke about this last month, there is no plan that's been submitted or approved even for a road there. If in fact that should ever happen, would conservation have to go down and look again to make sure that the road was constructed in the way it should be constructed before? Because there's no plan approved or in place for either any construction or any road. So at this point, would you have to go back down and approve that before they started that or finished it in any case?
Yes. So if they were to build a road through, I know there's a whole extra set of issues with if this is ever even possible or permittable, but theoretically, if a road were proposed, it would have to come back through the Conservation Commission for review and approval.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. See you next month.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Okay, so we will go back then to 360 Pearl Street. Thank you, commissioners, for your understanding. Bouncing.
All right, I will promote Azu to a panelist.
Good
Hello,
evening,
Mr.
Chair
Beamer.
and Commissioners. Good evening.
Hello. Would you like Kyle to begin, or did you want to give a summary?
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for you to respond, Madam Chair. Sorry. Thank you for indulging me. I always appreciate you people, even when I don't like what I'm hearing. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So, 360 Pearl Street is a site where the commission had allowed the construction of a single-family dwelling. It's a beautiful home that has been installed there. There was some requirements for restoration and there's some planting that has been done. So I did speak with Kyle regarding his comments, and I think his comments are in order. But I also do think that they are not insurmountable in terms of it is something that he needs to inspect. I believe Ken Thompson had written 3 restoration reports and monitoring reports back in 2022, 2023, and 2024. But he also told me that he will be willing to do one more report, that everything is going very well. Unfortunately, Ken is still dealing with the passing of his wife. So he's really not totally there mentally. That's why he's not here with us. But he can write a report if the commission deems it and Kyle deems it necessary. But I think the previous 3 reports that he prepared and submitted, that Kyle found them to be satisfactory. Then there is an issue relating to permanent markers that Mr. Victorine has actually installed. Those were a little bit more flush with the ground. They were not readily discernible. I spoke with Kyle this evening. There is an area he was still concerned about that it leaves the commission with the responsibility of having to go out there and monitoring whether in fact the person is in compliance, the future homeowner. And I believe that area, if you put in, it doesn't have to be, in my mind, the entire length of the non-disturbed, because that's pretty obvious. But in the area where there could be transitional and somebody can encroach, I believe what I've done on several projects, and Kyle, please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe that something like a few fence posts, cedar fence posts, in the terms of a small post and railing fence can be put in that section to provide a demarcation of the active use area and non-use area. It'll probably be 5-foot section, 10-foot section that can be readily installed. The weather has been pretty conducive. So there is really, in my mind, Madam Chair and Commissioners, I don't believe that there is something that will warrant continuing this meeting. Obviously, it is the prerogative of the commission, not mine. I'm just trying to persuade the commission that it can issue a certificate of compliance with advising Kyle to hold on to it and then release it until he sees those fence posts installed, and then Ken gives him one more letter. I think that'll be the way to go. We do have an actual, they're waiting to pass papers, so it behooves, in my mind, it behooves Mr. Victorine to do what is necessary, but those are de minimis, if you will, very innocuous requirements that I believe Kyle has served this commission very well, and that he can verify that those 3 items have been done before releasing the order, the certificate, if you will, just to move this along, and so that you don't have to see my handsome face again.
Thank you, Mr. Itanero.
Yes,
One
ma'am.
of the problems that we've had as a commission is that people have not made the borders of the sensitive areas clear at all. And then people buy the new property and decide that they're just going to put a lawn in. And they pull up areas that are wetlands, and the protected areas are not protected anymore. And as a commission, we've certainly taken the stand that we really have to have very obvious demarcation of sensitive areas. With, substantial space, I mean, not overly, not too much space between those markers. So that way it's very clear to where that area of demarcation is. So we've as a commission been holding that as we've discovered that it's really necessary to do that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's just that in speaking with Kyle, I think going forward, it'll be very more clear as to what the commission is looking for in the order itself, so that somebody doesn't take an interpretive opinion and put what they feel it's convenient. So, and remember, Mr. Victorine spent a substantial sum planting a lot of arborvitae and green vegetation that provides good. But if you were to put in that additional fencing that so that it's not an obnoxious boundary, I think a good push and rail fence in the particular section that Kyle has articulated makes perfect sense, and he can verify whether the fence is there or not. It will be standing out. So I think I'm agreeing with you, Madam Chair. I'm not disputing or arguing against at all. It's just the sequencing, and I think, as I stated a few minutes ago, it behooves Mr. Victorine to put that little section of visible fence post so that everybody will be okay with that. So if you would have issued that and then have Kyle verify that before releasing, then that'll be okay. I think that'll be a happy medium, Madam Chair.
Kyle, do you have, would you like to address your agent's report and your?
Yeah, I would. So yeah, just to kind of summarize, there were kind of 3 kind of concerns that I outlined in my report. There are several conditions from the order of conditions that I included, but it kind of boils down to kind of 3 issues. The first thing, I was mistakenly, I was unable to locate the conservation markers as they were installed. I was informed that they were installed. I went back to the site today, and I was able to find them. But these are these small medallion type things that are on top of like a piece of rebar that's pounded into the ground, and they're basically flush with the existing grade of the lawn area. So they are difficult to see, but they have been installed. So that part of my report is incorrect. The limit of work markers had been installed along a portion of the final limit of work. I'd like to share my screen and kind of show you the buffer zone restoration plan, because it also includes the limit of work that needs to be marked with the limit of work markers. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. So this is the property. The area of concern, so all this green thatched area was planted with like a meadow conservation mix. And then there were actual like trees planted back within the 25-foot buffer. the house is this blue structure here, and this ECB, this is the erosion control barrier. This is the secondary erosion control barrier around the kind of the limit of work for the home. As Azu had mentioned, there were some issues with some unpermitted site work and fill that had been added. That was handled with an enforcement order that was requiring that fill to be removed, and then part of the enforcement order was also to restore the buffer zone area, which was handled as part of this notice of intent filing. So the restoration work has been done. It was planted in spring of 2022, and then after that was established, the secondary erosion control barrier was installed around basically the active work area for the construction of the home. And so this is the area that's going to be where the limit of work markers are. And when I was out at the site today, I saw that the limit of work markers, as currently installed, begin right about here. This red line is the 100-foot jurisdictional buffer zone, and they went all the way to this corner and then all the way along the back here. But again, they weren't super apparent, and I missed them the first time that I was there. The second thing that I noted in my report is that the lawn, the white area around the home, has not yet been planted. And my concern is the combination of the fact that the lawn hasn't been planted and the fact that the erosion control barrier or the limit of work markers aren't super visible and apparent. My concern is, we issue the certificate of compliance, and then the home gets sold, and then the new homeowner wants a lawn, and then they would just go out and kind of not really be aware of this and plant kind of this whole area as to grass, and that's what I'm trying to avoid here. So I know Azu will circle back to your proposition, kind of a compromise, but that was one thing that I noted, is that the final vegetative cover had not been established. There is a fair bit of the 25-foot buffer zone is intact. Like this has all been planted back here. There's a substantial vegetation between the lawn area and the wetland resource area. I'm not really concerned that there's going to be a lot of runoff from the existing lawn area, but I'm just concerned about that yard creep over time. And then the third and final thing that I kind of outlined in my report was the order of conditions requires a final monitoring report be submitted to the commission after 3 full growing seasons. And the last report that we received was in July of 2024 after kind of like 2.5 growing seasons. So those reports they're good. They kind of cover everything that's here, but technically we didn't receive that final monitoring report after 3 full growing seasons. So all that said, Azu has proposed some compromises with the commission that you can consider. He's proposing kind of a pole fence be installed, not a constant pole fence, but just segments of pole fencing along the back erosion control barrier here and along up this side to kind of really delineate that boundary between the lawn area and then the area of like the buffer zone restoration and the conservation planting. And that can have signage as well. I think that's a good move anyway. I think that, we've just kind of seen how easily people willfully or no just kind of miss the conservation markers that are pounded and flushed to the ground. They're just so easy to miss. When I was out there today, there were several that I missed as I was walking around the site. Actually, I'd like to share maybe a photo that I took today. Are you able to see these photos? Yeah, so this is the type of marker that's currently installed. It says City of Brockton, limit of work, do not remove. That one's fairly visible. I got real close with my phone. Here's another one, and it's got a couple of leaves over it. I'm not sure when these were installed, if it was last fall or if it was earlier this spring. But if you're not looking for this, it's very easy to miss. And I'm pretty close to that one. So farther away than this shot, but this is that same one that we just looked at. That's very hard to see. My mouse cursor is kind of going over where that marker is. So again, if you're not aware that they're there and you're looking for them, they're very difficult to identify as you're just kind of walking around the site. So all that said, I'm concerned about those things. If the commission's willing to accept that final monitoring report from last year in July, then that's kind of up to the commission. And then the other two concerns are the yard hasn't been established. And the erosion or the limit of work markers. So Azu has proposed that this pole fence kind of be installed along the limit of work area that we've outlined already, and then that would allow. And correct me if I'm wrong, Azu, but the thought process behind that would be to not require the lawn to be planted now, with the assumption that the pole fence installation would be sufficient enough that when the lawn would be planted in the future, whoever is planting that lawn would be aware and only plant within the limit of work for the home. Is that correct?
That is correct. Because of the grading is fully established. So, and much of that will be as it'll be typical. It'll end up being similar to, hey, I've got a few bad spots on my land and I want to, landscape it. So I think that a visual of fencing with the posting, vinyl posting that says no work authorized beyond this area will properly delineate the areas, and the restoration work, it's really good. And like I said, Ken would write up another letter to Kyle. It's just that, like I said, since passion of his wife is just trying to be, his mind is not really back to really doing full work. But I spoke with him today. He said that he will gladly write the final report. He has the data. It's just that he didn't put it together. And he can, all these things can be done, Madam Chair and the commissioners. These things can be taken care of relatively in a very short order in the next 2-3 days. So it just the reason I am employing the commission to issue and have Kyle hold on to it is that the buyer has actually sold and looking to move in. So I do think that what we are asking and requesting, it's not out of the realm and it's not unreasonable. But the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I don't think it's unreasonable, but I don't make that call. The commission makes that call, and I hope and pray the commission to see it just as such.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
Commissioner Talbot has his hand raised, Madam Chair.
I don't see him here on the within the.
Oh, I'll stop sharing my screen so you
Okay,
can see.
thank you.
Yep.
Justin?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Azu, how many markers, or Kyle, how many markers are out there right now that are in the ground embedded that we can barely see? How many total?
So they're about every 15 feet. I didn't count them.
So it'll be, Mr. Talbot, it'll be about 30 of those.
30 of those. Okay.
Yeah, so it's substantial.
So you'll have
Madam Chair,
sections of short sections of fence instead? Is that what you're saying? Where those markers are, you'll have short sections of fence?
Along that line, yes. So you have those, you still have those medallions. We're not going to take those medallions out. That will be in addition to the medallions. To Kyle's point, you can't see those medallions unless you go looking for them. So the medallions are already there, and the fence posts will be added to delineate that.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, I think where I was going with it is I know the commission as well, all of us have had conversations in the future, how we'd like to set a precedent on what we'd like to use on new builds. However, this, and Kyle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this seems like an overabundance amount of pilings or whatever we want to put, granite posts. I mean, would you guys be putting in like a 4x4 piece of wood and then you would sleeve it over with vinyl, the wood itself?
Or if you want that, because it's cedar posts, those don't need to be treated. But if you prefer that, I don't see why we wouldn't do that. He has access to those.
Justin, I thought he said small, like short fence, like short
Yeah.
pieces of fence.
Yeah,
is
so,
correct.
I mean, my thought was just, okay, he's gonna put it, 2 feet in the ground, 2 feet up, and then sleeve it with a vinyl piece and put a big sign there that says, hey, you can't, whatever it deems.
Yes.
That's all I envisioned. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
talking aloud here. I apologize.
Is that something that you don't think would be appropriate, Justin?
No, I think for this instance, it may be appropriate. Again, however, I know as a commission, we have talked about setting precedents on what we'd like to see on all new builds. That's all.
Yeah, and I will agree with Mr. Talbot on that, Madam Chair, in the sense that because you're not you wouldn't be setting up a precedence on this one for the simple reason that the commission hasn't really established what that permanent living barrier will be. So you still have that opportunity to do that. So I am requesting that you indulge me in the sense that because there is really no well-defined, and actually in the policies that you have, it talks about the medallion. So I think Mr. Victorine probably should get some level of credit for doing the medallion because that's what has been in practice. But I think listening to Kyle and given the fact that this particular site where there was a restoration necessary, I think adding those fence posts will assuage the concerns, in my view.
For some of the subdivision projects, we've requested granite, like a granite post, as opposed to fence posts. Do you think he would be averse to that?
I will not venture to speak for Mr. Victorine, but I do think that if that is the route the commission wants to go, then he will have to do that. Although I will say this, the granite post take a little longer to order and come. And then you don't find those unless you go to a symmetry plot, and then even then they don't come that easy. So yes, if we had a couple of months, 2 months, 3 months, yes, but in this particular case, because they need to close rather soon, I think, and I can unfortunately I didn't take a good picture, but I have done quite a few of those, and the and the fence posts actually are very good. They fit naturally. They fit naturally with the trees and everything else, so that they don't look intrusive, and yet do the job, if you will.
Mhm.
I'm having a hard time imagining how that would look. Is there any way we can put one up so that we can see what Mr. Izu is trying to describe to
Okay.
us?
Okay, so Miss Curtis, I don't have one to share with you, but basically look at it as post and rail fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Basically, you have post, you have a railing in between it, so it's post and rail fence that I'm talking about.
I think I would be satisfied with that. I mean, that's very visible. It's and with the signs on it. How high are you thinking of making it? 6 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet?
4 feet.
4 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely, it would have to be at least 4 feet because
Yes.
if the growth of the grass is going to cover up anything that's, level with the ground. So those markers that are there now are going to not be visible once the foliage comes in. So
Yes.
definitely a fence, I think, would be a big visible marker that, no, you're not supposed to go past here.
Ms. Green, you have your hand up.
Speaking along, I guess what Peggy and Justin talked about and what Azur's been talking about, since this NOI and so order of conditions was kind of before we started talking about this precedent kind of thing. It is, I think, room to kind of forgive about that because we didn't really have that set, also it being kind of like a single home dwelling. So I think the fence would be a good compromise for that. I would say I would like the chance to have the time, even if it's just to continue it to next month, to have like a picture of what it would look like sent within the next couple days so we can approve it and say to Kyle they can go ahead with this. And then when the next meeting's done and it's like when the next meeting comes, if it's done, just to get kind of like, to make sure it's there because I don't want to, give the complete certificate, the certificate of completion without the actual fence like being put in there, just to, not that I'm saying you won't do it, but just, to set that kind of standard that, we want the actual work done and present before we let go of it.
I totally agree as far as wanting to actually have it in place before we issue the certificate, just because there have been too many times that it just hasn't been followed through by the people that purchased because they didn't understand or didn't see it, or I think we really have to stay firm with that.
Yeah, I think by the time the next meeting rolls around, some of the foliage should have had a chance to grow too.
Yeah, so you have grass around the house? Has grass been planted around the house?
It's been coming up. Remember, we've had a fail. Even the DEP did declare, even over the winter, that we have a state declared drought. So it'll come back, and anything that's not coming back, we'll take care of it. The weather seems to be a little bit more conducive right now. But I will go back to the issue. I would agree, Madam Chair and the commissioners, I would agree that, yes, you want to see it. But take, for example, we are here discussing the findings, Kyle's findings, and you accepting his report as to why the project is out of compliance. Then I would imagine that you can exercise the same level of confidence in your agent to be able to say, yep, the fence posts are there, and before releasing the certificate. So ordinarily, I would say yes, but in this particular case, it's very specific. We're going to put 4-foot high post and rail fence. Kyle, did you see it? Yes. Okay.
I do.
Then, yeah.
I totally understand and I totally appreciate what it is you're saying. But we've seen issues with unstabilized areas that weren't properly seeded and stabilized for sometimes years, and the markers have really become an issue. So we have decided that we will see the markers in place before we issue a complete certificate of compliance. Is as simple as that. So once we know that the markers are in place, that will certainly meet the letter of the law. Not that it's really a law, but the letter of our
approval. Yeah. No,
yes.
I agree with that. No, so
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Of course, we trust Kyle, but we don't want to see anything done. We'd like to see that particular item completed before we can issue the.
Well, is it possible then to vote to issue so that when we come to the next meeting, if that is your choice, the direction you're going, so that then that can be released at that meeting instead of
all we would do is continue to the next meeting, and as long as that was provided at the next meeting, we would close and we would then issue.
Okay, but
as long as it's there, as long as it's available at the next meeting, then we will issue the certificate at that time. It's 1 more month, just 1 month.
Okay.
Okay, and we totally understand what you're saying, and of course we have total trust in Kyle, but to do things before they're completed has not always worked out for the best interest of the intent of the law.
And the only, Madam Chair, the only reason I'm asking this, and this is my last attempt in this province, and that is, whereas, and this is where I am asking for a little bit of leeway here, whereas there was no real specific marker requirement up until this point, and the
Mhm.
commission is still in the, so the whole markup discussion is still in gestation, if you will. So I am thinking, whereas we have agreed to do this, and you issue it, but you don't release it, and so that it can be verified. That's just because there is really nothing specific existing in your policy. That's all. That's all. And thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you, Oz. I appreciate it very much. Okay, Lily.
I would say two things. One, since it sounds like the fence is kind of the not substitute, but the what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry. A compromise of not like yes, the lawn's been planted, but it hasn't been completely grown, so we don't have that like there was that worry that like if there's still areas that need to be planted that there wasn't that clear marker. So I feel like that's kind of like what the point of this fence is that we're agreeing on. And the second thing I just wanted to ask was towards Kyle, just if the next meeting comes and we do issue a COC because the fence is up and the final monitoring report is given, how long on average, Kyle, would it take you to like get the report? Like, could you get the report, like the COC issued to them, say like Friday, but next week? Like, it wouldn't take like a
as
whole
far as,
other
like,
month.
how long
like,
it takes to actually issue the certificate of compliance, it's very quick. It's a form, and then if time is of consideration, the applicant could come and pick it up probably the following day. So like the day after the meeting, like I could do it in a half hour. So.
And we are going to be much clearer, I think, on our expectations for the limit of work markers. For sure.
I'm just pleading because of the volatility of the market, so that my client doesn't lose a sale. That's all. That's why I'm pressing.
You have the ability to sell the property with a partial certificate of compliance. It's
Yeah,
not.
well, that's what we try to do. But attorneys these days just don't. That's what it is. We're dealing with an attorney that's representing a buyer that's saying, "Oh well, just just like you're saying, oh, this might not be done." The attorney is gung ho that he wants to see a full certificate before he tells his client to move in. So you just it's one of those chicken or the egg. Which one comes first? And I'm just a messenger. That's all.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to retire too, so I'm not coming and bothering the commission. Maybe I'll come and join you.
You live in Brockton. Kyle.
Yeah, I just wanted to summarize and kind of make sure that we're all on the same page as far as expectations. So it sounds like the commission would like to see a 4-foot post and rail cedar fence installed along the final the limit of work around the lawn area, and then also we would want to receive the final monitoring report from the botanist confirming compliance with the restoration planting. But we're not requiring that the lawn be replanted before issuance of a complete certificate of compliance. Is that correct?
That sounds right. And it's not an entire fence all the way around, right? It's sections of fence. Is that correct?
No, right.
Yeah, it would just be sections of fence. That's correct.
Okay. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Commissioners?
Given that all of these things can be done relatively quickly and easily, I would be fine, instead of denying the certificate of compliance request, continuing this to next month, allowing the applicant to do those things. That way they don't have to go through the filing process again in a couple weeks. Assuming that's the will of the commission.
Okay, so we would just need a motion to continue then. We wouldn't be closing, we wouldn't be issuing, we would just continue till next. I just need a motion for that then, if that's.
I make a motion to continue to next month, 360 Pearl Street.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to continue 360 Pearl Street to the, what is it, May 19th meeting?
May
21st.
21st.
Oh, 21st, I'm sorry, May 21st meeting. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, I.
And Voris, aye. Mr. Itanuro, you may not even have to attend the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Well,
Okay.
I will attend because I like to pretend I'm an attorney and bill at 15-minute increments.
Thank you. It was nice to see you again.
All right, so yeah, have a good night. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Okay, where are we? Clarendon? Clarendon, next year. Number 18?
Yes, that's
Chair
correct, Madam Chair. Number 18, 0 Clarendon Street. I issued a notice of violation to this property. Had recently been acquired. This parcel had been recently acquired by the city of from the city of Brockton to a private property owner. They bought it from the city, and they did some unpermitted clearing of just vegetative growth within the buffer zone. I got a report from a neighbor, I reached out and got in contact with the new property owner and kind of talked to them about what work is permittable within the buffer zone and things like that. So I did also issue the notice of violation just so it's kind of on the books. I didn't require any remediation at this time. If the commission chooses to, we can escalate and require a buffer zone restoration or planting. My kind of thought of this was they didn't do any earth disturbance. It was really just vegetation clearing, and I think that it mostly was just kind of not great plants to begin with. It was kind of weedy back there anyway. So I'm thinking that just the natural seeds in the seed bed will germinate over the coming summer, and it will kind of revegetate on its own. So I didn't really see the need to require a restoration, but that's something that we can move forward with if the commission chooses to.
Do you have photos of the area?
Yeah, I do. I can share those. Let me pull this up. So this is looking at the end of Clarendon Street. It's a dead end, and the parcel that we're looking at is owned by the city of Brockton, and you can see there's some cattails back here. So the wetland line is actually kind of right through there. So this is all work within the buffer zone. They've kind of cleared this area out. So this is on city of Brockton property that we're looking at now. This lot over here to the left where the excavator and the truck are parked, that's within the lot 0 Clarendon Street. So this is a separate lot, and this is the lot that was recently purchased from the city of Brockton. So you can see there's disturbance all the way through here. They've done a lot of clearing out. They've stacked up all this down trees and things here. So again, at this time, I didn't require any sort of restoration, but if that's something the commission is interested in pursuing, we can certainly go down that route.
It's not within the wetlands, it's just in the buffer zone, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Do we know what they want to do with this property? Are they clearing it so that they can build something?
So the property line is also kind of something that they've gone over the property line. The lot that is 0 Clarendon Street isn't extremely large. I don't know that it has frontage for a home without a variance from ZBA, so they would have to go through a couple hoops to build on this lot. I mean, it is a buildable lot, but they would have to get a variance for frontage from either zoning or maybe planning board is actually who would give that variance. I'm not sure.
At this point, before they go any further, I think they should be issued a restoration order because I don't think they understand what they're doing and what they're dealing with. So before they go any further and invest any money and time into something that they can't do, they should know where their restrictions are.
Okay, so if we do move forward with like an enforcement order on this, what kind of language would you like to include in that? I would recommend that they mark have the property line surveyed and flagged, or staked, and then we could
Yes.
maybe have them seed the buffer zone, the disturbed areas within buffer zone with some sort of like conservation seed mix.
Yes.
Yeah, rather than like plugs and like woody vegetation and trees and things, just a seed mix.
Yes, I mean, I'm wondering how many trees were removed from the buffer zone.
Yeah, I don't know that they took down any trees. I think they just moved trees that had already fallen naturally. But again, I've not been out there recently, but from what I recall, it was mostly just, it didn't seem like they hadn't like gone through and like cut trees down. They just like moved things around that were already
Yep.
existing on the site.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So just a seed mix then.
Okay, yeah. So I can absolutely do that. If we want to issue an enforcement order with those conditions, we can vote to do that tonight.
Okay. So I vote to issue an enforcement order on 0 Clarendon Street with the conditions that Kyle has just outlined.
Which would be,
Well, we have a hand raised from Commissioner Green, but the conditions outlined so
we
far
need to have a
are
little more of a
um,
discussion.
yeah, the surveyed a property line and staked, so they know where that boundary is, and then to seed all disturbed areas with a conservation like wetland seed mix.
What would
Lily?
be required in terms of like the trees that they did already like stop moving? Would they be required to remove those completely from the buffer zone, or would they just keep those in the buffer zone?
So you're not supposed to put things into the wetland. Like this is stuff that was already down, like down trees and things like that. They do serve a function for
Yeah.
like habitat for things. They've been moved around. Again, you've got a lot of leeway depending on what the commission wants to do. So you could conceivably have all that stuff removed. I don't know that. I mean, if it's in the buffer zone and it's within that city parcel, yeah, just leaving that there, I don't think is a terrible thing.
I think just making it clear to them that if we decide we want to leave them, that we tell them we want them to leave them, because I assume one of the reasons they might have been moving it was just because they thought it didn't look nice, so they might think later, like if we don't tell them, they might decide they want to move it.
Yeah, so we can
future.
include language, just very broad language that they're not permitted to do any additional work within the buffer zone with ground disturbance or vegetation clearing without filing with the commission.
Mhm. And certainly I think it needs to be delineated for sure.
Just the property line rather than the wetland boundary.
Why not both? No?
Well, I don't think they got into the wetland, but we could require them to delineate the wetland boundary as well. But the question is, what does that affect? Is that going to affect restoration, or are you just worrying about establishing the actual 100-foot buffer zone more accurately?
No, I was just thinking of, are they aware of exactly where the resource area is and where those, so where the limits are?
Yeah.
150. I don't, yeah. Commissioners, do you think an enforcement order is necessary, or?
Yes,
I think if you're going to require that they do things, I think an enforcement order is appropriate. Now, before we move to the enforcement order, we could issue just a notice asking them to do that work. But in this case, I think the enforcement order is probably the best case here, just to kind of get it there and it's done, and then that's enforceable.
Okay. Lily?
Just because I've been looking at this picture for a while, Kyle, where exactly is the property line? You mentioned the truck and the excavator. Like, how close to the property line are those? Like, are those gonna have to be moved kind of things, or
Oh, here's another photo. I think that the property line, the beginning of Clarendon Street, is like right at this garage, and then it goes, 40 feet the opposite direction ish. I'm not exactly sure the dimensions of the lot, but so these things are close to being outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
And then where are they relative to, could you go back to that picture that shows where they are relative to the cleared area?
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, and
Okay.
this all this area that's with the darker dirt there has been the recently disturbed areas, and that's all within buffer zone.
Okay.
So just to be clear, what we're requiring is that they survey the property line that's adjacent to the city-owned parcel and get that, marcated, with stakes or something, so that line is established. And then we're going to issue like a no additional work, like no work within the buffer zone without prior approval from the Conservation Commission, and then requiring that they seed the disturbed areas on both their lot and the city-owned parcel next door with a conservation seed mix in the buffer zone.
Yes.
Justin, do you have any questions, or
No, I just
Teresa?
think it's a good idea, and I think that the property line being surveyed will be enough, right? They'll see the line and that'll differentiate everything.
Without an environmental survey, you mean?
Right.
Okay. If you feel that, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. So what we would need to vote to issue an enforcement order to the current owners of 0 Clarendon Street with the provisions and requirements outlined as just discussed.
I think, Peggy, did you make that motion already? Before?
Yes, I did make that motion already. I
Okay.
can make it again. I make a motion to issue a violation order on 0 Clarendon Street with the conditions that Kyle has outlined as previously discussed.
you second that motion?
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Justin, I, or no?
Yep, Talbot, I'm having
Oh,
issues
okay.
from the other thing.
And Boris, I. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item, I guess through the chair. Sorry, Joyce.
It's okay. Exeter Street?
Yeah, so this is an enforcement order that I issued since the last meeting. So you may recall 10 Exeter Street was a notice of intent that we just recently reviewed, and we issued an order of conditions for the property in September of last year. Ultimately, I was actually just driving by the Clarendon property that we were just discussing, and I saw a house being built in the same kind of region out back in the woods. And I followed up a little bit later on and determined that it was at 10 Exeter Street. So they had started the construction that was approved under the order of conditions, but they did not schedule the pre-construction meeting with me. So I didn't go out there and review the order of conditions with the actual contractors and the project supervisor, and I did not confirm the installation of the erosion controls. These are all things that normally happen at a pre-construction meeting. Oh, I guess I can stop sharing my screen for the moment. And so I went out there, and the site was in pretty bad shape. They had moved a bunch of fill. They had excavated portions of the basement because the existing foundation was crumbling, so they replaced a lot of it. In any case, they added a bunch of fill and concrete and just all sorts of stuff within the buffer zone right up to where the wetland line is. Also beyond the actual property bound as well. So I did move forward and issued an enforcement order requiring that they install erosion controls around the limit of disturbance. and then that they B, survey the approved limit of work that was approved under the order of conditions and get that flagged. And then C, to remove all fill but that was deposited between the approved limit of work and the limit of disturbance. And then D, to install erosion controls at the approved limit of work. And then, and that's all been done, by the way. That far has been addressed.
Wow.
And then we need to work on giving them some guidance as to what kind of restoration plantings need to be done in that area. So I'm going to show you some photos next. So the first set of photos that I'm going to share are from the first day that I was out there, which was March 25th. So I'm standing on like the drive area that goes back. The wetland resource area is kind of straight back in this woods behind the house here. The approved plan with the order of conditions has erosion control starting basically where I'm standing by this pole all the way down through here and then behind the property. So there's no erosion controls even up here. But we're going to go a little bit farther down into the corner. You can see here is broken up concrete that's been deposited. There's a bunch of fill that's been kind of this used to be an area that kind of graded naturally down to the lower area there. So there's a kind of a plateau of fill that's been added here. Looking behind the house, the limit of work is actually just beyond this portion of the construction. So all this is fill. This is maybe 3 feet or so of fill that's been kind of added to this area. And it was pretty startling and you know not good. Just a bunch of foundation and things that were just deposited within. You know, this is a waterway right here. There's a little perennial stream back here. In any case, it was kind of a mess, so we issued the enforcement order. I'm just going to skip ahead. I've got several like in progress photos, but this is the last day that I was there. So as part of the enforcement order, I required that work be stopped on the actual construction until they address some of these things. So this silt sock to the left of the image is the silt sock that was installed at the limit of disturbance. And then this silt sock here to the right is the surveyed limit of work according to the plan of record approved by the commission with the order of conditions. They have removed all the fill that was between the limit of disturbance and the approved limit of work. And what they've done is they've gone through and they've added maybe about an inch or so of loam through this area, so to facilitate planting of whatever the commission requires that they plant. In the enforcement order that I issued, I only required that this be planted with a conservation mix. But given the proximity to the structure, I think that maybe having a more robust restoration here with actual like plantings of trees and shrubs like woody vegetation might help differentiate what's going to be lawn from what is the restoration area that's not to be touched, right? So I guess tonight I'm looking for 2 things from the commission. One, we need to ratify the enforcement order, and if the commission wants to require additional things, we can include that in the ratified enforcement order, like a restoration plan to be submitted with woody vegetation and things, which is not something that's currently included in the enforcement order. I'm just going to cycle through some more photos here of the site. These are the like kind of current conditions. The day that I was out on the site and I took these photos, that was also the day that we kind of had the pre-construction meeting. At that point, we reviewed the order of conditions, made sure the erosion controls were installed correctly, and I did give them permission to begin construction on the home again, with the understanding that this restoration piece still needs to be addressed, but they've kind of hit the major concerns, at least the timely things. And like obviously, we couldn't really even plant the restoration area due to like potential late frosts until basically next week is when like the last frost is possible in this area. So we were gonna wait on to plant on this anyway. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my thought. I think that requiring a restoration plan for this area is probably a good idea. That would include woody vegetation in addition to the conservation planning, conservation like seed mix.
And where are they relative to the stream or the wetlands?
Yeah, I'm gonna cycle through some photos here. I think I have some that have the, so it's hard to see here. Right on this tree where my cursor is, there's a little black and pink flag. That's the BVW boundary. So some of these, it was within 3 feet of the BVW boundary. Like the 25 foot. Let me go to the site plan and to the approved site plan for you, and we can kind of maybe look at things on there. So this is the revised site plan. And so that corner of the home that is kind of sticking out, the limit of work goes almost within a foot or so of that. And then the limit of work is only, this corner of the building is only, it's less than 3 feet from the property line. And the fill was kind of pushed all the way back through this area in well into the 25-foot buffer zone.
So it's, yeah, so the building's really close to the 25.
Yeah, yes, it had to go through zoning and get building variances because normally there's a setback between from the property line, but because this was something that was previously existing, they kind of gave it like a grandfather pass, and so they allowed it to be that close to the property line. So so that's kind of where things are now. But so we certainly need to ratify the enforcement order and or issue a new enforcement order with additional requirements of like a restoration plan for that area rather than just seeding it, which I think is probably appropriate.
I believe we had discussed a while ago too, because that 25-foot, the shed is inside of the 25-foot, right?
Yeah, so they actually, this shed back here, one of the conditions in the order was that this would be moved to a location outside of the 25-foot buffer zone. They ended up just removing the shed entirely, and they have no intentions of building a shed as part of this this lot. So that's kind of not
that be there at all. Okay, thank you.
So I guess if the commission wants to require a buffer zone or a restoration of that disturbed area, I think that issuing a new enforcement order rather than ratifying the old enforcement order would be appropriate. So what we can do is you can vote to issue an enforcement order that includes all the language of the original enforcement order that I sent, with the additional requirement that they submit a buffer zone restoration plan that includes, woody vegetation and tree plantings within that disturbed area.
Is it possible? Would we have to? We wouldn't have to include the cease and desist and add erosion controls because that's already been done, right?
Well, I think that it's just good to have that on. And they've already done those things, but I think it's important that we require that those things be done.
Could we note that that has been done though, or would
I think that either way, like if we chose not to modify the enforcement order at all and you just ratified it tonight, that work's still been done. It doesn't negate the fact that that was a lawful order, So I think that that's not a problem. If that's the concern.
Okay. No, my concern was if we issued a whole new one, there would be no, you know what I mean, as opposed to just taking this and modifying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, let me pull up the language of the actual enforcement order that I had issued. So cease and desist all construction activities associated with the redevelopment of 10 Exeter Street. Erosion controls consisting of 12-inch diameter compost-filled biodegradable silt sock shall be installed at the site along the limit of disturbance. The approved limit of work shall be identified by survey and flagged. All fill between the limit of disturbance and approved limit of work shall be removed down to the pre-existing grade. Erosion controls consisting of 12-inch diameter compost-filled biodegradable silt sock shall be installed along the limit of work at the pre-existing natural grade. The area between the limit of disturbance and the approved limit of work shall be seeded with a conservation seed mix. And then so I did include some language here, Madam Chair. Prior to the commencement of work and lifting of the cease and desist order, a pre-construction meeting shall be arranged by the applicant. At the pre-construction meeting, the agent shall confirm the installation of those erosion controls, the DEP file number, and proof of recording of the order of conditions. So those have all been met. So
Right.
by this language here, they are able to move forward with the construction.
Okay,
Can we also add language that they need to put markers out there every 15 feet?
So that's already included in the order of conditions. So
Oh,
that is a
okay.
requirement. At the end of this development, we will
Yeah.
absolutely require that they have markers along the limit of work.
Okay.
Yep.
oh, but there isn't anyone here tonight.
No, there isn't. I did speak to them, and they had said that they were planning on attending the meeting, but you know how it goes. So I think that I think we can ratify the existing enforcement order and just add new language, and
I think that would be easiest.
yeah, I think that's fine. So yeah.
Actually have.
I think I would like to add robust seating with plantings instead of just the regular seed, a conservation seed mix.
So what we're going to do, the language that I'm proposing here is that we would, let's see. So number 6 is what we're looking at here. So the area between the limit of disturbance and the approved limit of work shall be seeded with a conservation seed mix. So we're going to strike that, and we're going to add a new 6, basically requiring that they submit a restoration plan, including conservation seed mix and like woody vegetation to be approved by the commission before implementation.
Yeah, and also ask them to come to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. So we ratify this with amendments? Is that what we do?
Yeah, ratify it with an amended number 6, as discussed.
Okay. Any other questions or anything? I entertain a motion then to ratify the enforcement order. What number is this?
10 Exeter Street.
Number 10 Exeter Street.
Okay. I'll make a motion to ratify the violation order or ratify the enforcement order on 10 Exeter Street with the conditions as outlined by Kyle.
And the amendments that we spoke about, right? I second that motion then.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to issue an enforcement order for number 10 Exeter Street with amended number 6 as discussed. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Calvin, I.
And Boris, aye. So that passes. Very good. Car wash update, 710 Oak Street.
Yeah, just a couple updates to these last two. At last month's meeting, the commission voted to issue an enforcement order for 710 Oak Street, requiring that either the applicant demonstrate compliance with local and state stormwater standards of that area that was disturbed, that was outside of the approved limit of work, or restore that area to the pre-existing conditions as depicted on the current conditions plan that was submitted. So the commission did vote to issue that enforcement order. Following that vote and that meeting, I was in contact with the engineer that designed this project for the applicant. And there was an administrative error on my end where I referenced the incorrect and outdated site plan in the order of conditions. So when I was going and doing my review for the certificate of compliance, I was looking at an old plan set. Upon review, that depression area that conveyed water into the to the wetland was reviewed by Beta as part of their review of the car wash for us, and it was a late addition. All this to be said is that there is not a violation that occurred here. It was approved work that was approved under the order of conditions. I just made a clerical error and didn't include the proper plan set in the actual order of conditions. So all that said, I guess I'm asking the commission to rescind the enforcement order vote. I never actually issued the enforcement order, so there's no like official canceling that has to happen on the state side of things. But the commission did vote to issue that enforcement order. So I guess I'm just asking that the commission tonight vote to rescind that vote that was made at the March meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to rescind that order
Second
that
on that.
was issued on 10 Exeter Street.
710 Oak Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, 710 Oak Street.
Commissioners, do you have any questions or anything before? No? Okay. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to rescind the enforcement order for 710 Oak Street. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Alvin, I.
And Forsyth. That carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The last one is 940 Belmont Street, the fuel station.
Yeah, just a quick update for the public record and just for the commission members that weren't a part of this. But we went out and did a site visit as discussed at our last meeting. Commissioner Voris, Talbot, and Mapp. We reviewed the proposed changes to the plan there at the fuel station. Ultimately, the commission members that were present decided that the change didn't need to go through and get a full amended order of condition approval. I did speak to Beta about this as well. My big concern was whether this was going to impact the stormwater standards that they reviewed, and they confirmed that filling that pit below the fuel tank would not change the applicant's adherence to the stormwater standards. So all that said, I did reach back out to the builders there and told them that they were free to move forward with that proposed change as outlined in their letter, and that they did not need to file an amended order of conditions, and they would just need to note that change in their letter when they eventually file for a certificate of compliance.
Questions or comments or anything? If not, that seems to be the end of our agenda. Would anyone like
Make a
to?
motion to adjourn.
We'll take
Second that motion.
All that say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
night.
Take care. Bye-bye.